You're listening to the 702 Gaming Podcast. This is episode number 40. Today we're joined by JMac. What's up, man?
Hey, buddy.
How you doing?
Fantastic. Happy to be here, like always.
And then we have a special guest today. This is Eddie.
How are you guys doing?
Good, man. The reason we have you on is because you opened up a shop that I think our listeners would be interested in. I know JMac's interested. I actually got to go visit it.
Well, the name of the store is Unstable Table. I kind of just liked how that rolled off the tongue, and we focus on getting people in and playing on our tables. Right now, we're just heavily doing TCGs, trading card games, so like Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Riftbound, One Piece, that sort of stuff. So the trading card games.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you had a grand opening, a couple weeks ago? And so I got to go to that, and I was just really impressed with all the people that were in there day one on their tables, battling it out. I think, were they playing One Piece?
Yeah, they were playing One Piece. So in this store, our biggest community's One Piece. So we get it's a small town, right? So we get 8 to 12 people consistently. And we figured we'd just try to do a big tournament on our grand opening. So when people would come in, they'd see what the point of the shop is. Come in, sit down, socialize, play some games. So that was really fun. A lot of people just were, looking over their shoulders and what's this all about? We had parents that came in and later sent their kids. They're like, it's probably good for my kid to go socialize, get out of the house.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and you also, what kind of stuff do you sell there?
So all trading card games, well, not all, but the top trading card games and the ones that we can get our hands on, because trading card games are really hot right now. So the products are either super overpriced or just not available. You just can't get them as much as you want it. So the top ones would be Magic, which was doing a lot of, they call it Universes Beyond, where they bring other IPs into their games. So behind me, you'll see some Marvel, some Spider-Man, some Avatar, some Ninja Turtles, stuff like that. So we do that. And then there's One Piece and Riftbound is, the two games that we're focusing on, along with Pokemon, the most right now.
And you'll buy cards?
Yeah.
From people?
Or? Yeah, we'll buy cards.
Very cool.
You trying to sell some cards?
We were
actually
there. After we went to your grand opening, we opened up my daughter's Pokemon collection, and we were looking through just trying to see if any were worth money. And I don't understand how it works exactly, but some of the cards she had, were on eBay for a couple $100. So I don't know if that means that hers is worth that or if hers is worth $1. I don't know, but
right.
I'll have to bring them in and let you see them. Yeah,
bring them in. We'll see. We'll look at them. People do find gems. Just they're like, hey, I haven't touched these in years, and then they bring them in, and you're happy to tell them, hey, this is worth a couple $100, and they're stoked. They were just looking for $40, $50, and they walk away with a couple $100 worth. So
Very
buying cool. up until recently, buying's been huge, singles from people, because like I mentioned earlier, product is very scarce. So a lot of the times stores don't get enough product, and they want to, to make enough money, right? Because if you only get a certain amount of product and then you sell that product, you might have needed more to do more volume to cover all your expenses. So a way around that was buying people's collections and then selling those.
Interesting.
If you were selling cards... Sorry, I was just going to say, if you were selling cards in the last couple months, you were making good money on them. You're probably getting the highest amount I've ever seen, the highest percentage I've ever seen.
That's interesting. Well, so JMac here, he just started kind of dipping his toes in this world. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. We'll have Eddie in. What have you been playing, Josh?
Yeah, so basically just Magic, right? Super interested to hear. I already got a list of questions, so I'll start firing those here in a second. But I do prefer like the quick in and out of Magic the Arena through like Steam or playing on the computer. Like obviously that's really easy. You get kind of your dopamine from your pack openings on there a little bit, and you don't have to, spend all that money. But I do also play in person with my son. Small history is my my wife's brother, huge into it. I mean, probably 30 binders of Magic cards and unlimited decks he's been playing, since he was a teenager, and right now we're all in our 40s. So kind of got us into it, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, whereabouts. And we play off and on. It's something that I really enjoy. I don't go to TCG stores and play, but definitely familiar with stores and kind of how that works and everything else. So very cool. One of my good friends, I just was helping him make individual 3D print individual like pack holders for packs of 20, so he can do a blind draft night. So that he could just make a bunch of different packs, and then they're gonna, pull the two cards, pass the deck around, and like do teams or anything like that. So he's doing that this Sunday. I think I'm just gonna miss it. That sounds really awesome. So kind of looking forward to maybe doing that a little more, as the side hobby when I'm not grinding my video games.
Right.
But the first question I have is One Piece, right? With all these other versions coming out, right? It's a little overwhelming. I know Magic Gathering does it, like you said, the licensing with Marvel and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. How long has One Piece been out?
So One Piece is having their fourth year anniversary with this set, actually, the one that comes out today. Well, pre-releases are today. It officially launches next week. So it's been around for 4 years, and I've been really impressed with One Piece, and I think everyone, honestly, like in the space, has been impressed with how good One Piece has been doing. What were your questions about it?
No, I mean, just curious because I kind of getting back into it a little bit. I knew I grew up on watching Yu-Gi-Oh, and so then I knew that became a TCG game and all that, but Magic was always the main one, right? So it's just like it's fun to see out, and plus Pokemon, right? Pokemon's been out for
Yeah.
forever and forever, just probably just as long as Magic. So it's just cool to see that there's new iterations with the card game essentially, right? And like, so that was pretty cool. I haven't personally got through all of One Piece. I love the live action. Like that's like the mountain to climb of the anime is just so overwhelming for me, and I get like 4 episodes in and I stop. So but just that's super cool that they've kind of, it keeps growing, ultimately the universe of TCG, right? Like that's super cool.
Yeah, there's so with I guess I'll tell you since you didn't yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about it. So I've been playing trading card games since I was a kid, right? Late 90s. I picked up, a couple Magic cards, played with some guys that were like in their 20s, and I was just a kid. I think I was like 9, 10, like a kid. And these guys, they had these like cool cards and stuff, and they were kind of showing me. And then I picked up Pokemon, and I collected all the Pokemon cards, and at the same time, Yu-Gi-Oh. And this is early 2000s, and Yu-Gi-Oh from that point on was kind of like my favorite game to play. I loved the anime, but I loved how the game played back in the early days. Pokemon was never, as fun as the other two, Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh were. And I just like never stopped. I was always, in and out playing Yu-Gi-Oh through the decades as new stuff came out, going into card shops. And for 20 plus years, it's always been Magic, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh. So what's cool about One Piece is that it seems to be fighting for one of the top 3 spots right now.
Wow.
And like I said, I've been my whole life, right? Since I was a kid, since some of my first memories, it's always been the top 3. And then today, you're actually seeing a new card game because there's a whole meme about it, but TCGs just come and go. For decades, TCGs came and went, and there was always just the big 3: that Magic, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh.
Mm-hmm.
But I think One Piece is actually here to stay. And in fact, TCG Player put out a report, I think last month, saying that there were 2 or 3 TCGs on certain quarters in 2025 that beat out Yu-Gi-Oh as far as sales goes, sales volume on their website. So top 2 were Magic and Pokemon, and then from there you had things like Lorcana, One Piece, Riftbound made the top 5. So the way I see it is something's big is happening right now. If you've been in TCGs for decades, is one of the top 3 is getting dethroned, and we don't really know who's gonna take that spot away from them. But there's some good contenders, and One Piece. I think One Piece would be my favorite pick to win that, followed by like Riftbound and then Lorcana.
What makes One Piece so good? Sorry.
So yeah, so One Piece, it's so you got to understand how TCGs have been in the past first. So with Pokemon and Magic, they have like a mana system, right? And these cards are always put into your deck. So it's in your main deck and you have to draw into them. So they even have, so when you don't draw mana, you're kind of screwed. And Magic players even have this term called mana screw. I'm not drawing any mana. I can't play my games.
Yeah.
So it was a good system at the time, but some of the new TCGs have implemented a resource system. Instead of putting it into your main deck, you have a resource system where you every turn add to your resources or your pool of being able to spend, and then there's a max. But it makes it so that your gameplay is more consistent and games are less on luck of the draw. I mean, there's still some luck. It's a TCG. You still shuffle. You still do all that. But you can build more consistently knowing you're going to have your mana every turn. So it makes the games a lot more competitive, in my opinion. It's harder to high roll someone or to get screwed on your end, which is really frustrating. If you've played TCGs and you've drawn no mana, you're upset. You're like, this isn't fair. I didn't even have a chance. What kind of takes some of that away? So, and those were, most of the new card games are using these kind of add mana every turn, add your resources every turn. So, and I find out, very fun.
Wow, that's awesome, because like you said, it becomes the shuffler, right? Like you're just playing against the shuffler of how it is. Either you can get those, playthroughs where it's just all mana, right? Or it's just all creatures and you can't do anything with them. Either way, you're stuck. So that's really cool. Good. That's a great question, Jake, because that's what I was asked. I was like, why do you think that's coming around and that evolution of it? And wow, that is a game changer of having more of that pool system where you can play the game and have it more competitive, so you don't just get trounced and you're like, okay, we're 6 turns in, game is already done, I might as well concede, let's just reshuffle and see if we can get it more competitive. As I do find enjoyment in the longer games where you feel more in control of how to say, oh man, should I play this card or this card, and kind of thinking or predicting what the other player has, rather than well, I'm stuck. I don't have any land to play, or I don't have any mana to play, and then there you go. And then it feels like I'm just throwing out what I can, instead of there's no strategic gameplay part of it. And I've been many a Magic games, I'm just like, wow, this is no fun. You play 5 in a row where you just get absolutely trampled, and it was just the shuffler. You couldn't play anything, you can't bring anything out, and you can't combat anything, whether no matter how it is. So that sounds awesome. My next question is so you really steered away from Magic. Are you guys doing anything with the Hobbit release, or is there anything in your store, or are you just going to say One Piece?
No, so we want to do all of them, right? Because everybody has their games. As much as I've been frustrated with Yu-Gi-Oh, if someone were to come in and be like, I got some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I want to play some games, I'd totally do it. I'd totally just pick them up and play with them. So, so we want to do all of them if there's a community for it,
Right.
I'll probably a bunch of the ones that aren't as popular around here. I'd probably group together, which is one thing we did. So there's one night where we do Riftbound and Gundam. We haven't really had a ton of people coming in for those two games, so we have enough table space to just run both. On just different sides. So we want to do all the ones that people want to play. There's no judgment here. For Magic in the Hobbit, we are doing something for the Hobbit. We're doing a draft tomorrow, and it's it's not like a release draft because obviously the Hobbit already came out, but we're going to treat it kind of like a release event type deal. So we're doing 3 packs. You know how Magic Draft works. You get 3 packs, you build a deck, and then you play. And we're going to do Swiss rounds. Do you know what Swiss rounds are?
No, I don't actually.
No. Okay. It's when so everybody gets a pairing, and then winners play against winners, losers play against losers, and then the following round, winners play against winners. People that have won one and lost one play against each other, and people that have lost both games play against each other. So, and then you just do that till there's only one guy left. The top 3 spots. So, around here, like I said, it's a small town, right? It's like I think 12,000 people in this town, and you've got another town 30 minutes north and another town 30 minutes south. So around here, what I've noticed is that the Magic players like to play Commander, and it's just them and their buddies, right? You say you play with your son. So it's kind of the equivalent of you coming in just playing with your son and like one friend, and that's it. There's not really a community or competition, in my opinion. And growing up in all these TCGs, I've always been huge into competition, right? Like when I played Yu-Gi-Oh, I would go to the weekly tournaments. I would travel an hour or two for regional tournaments, bigger tournaments. I would try to make nationals and all this. And there's just like I've seen no like drive or desire to compete. So that's why I'm putting together the Magic draft. Is I want people to compete because to me that's the fun part of these games is when everyone's trying to win. So I told them let's come play. I made it super juicy. I said top 3 spots get collector boosters. I'll probably break even or lose some money on it, but the point of running this event is I need to ignite, or I'd like to ignite the fire of competition in people around here because it's just been, too like casual in my opinion. It's just like too lax. Like just you and your 2 buddies, you come in and play, and that's what you do every week. It just seems boring to me. And
Well, maybe
I think
maybe you already have this idea, but could I give you a suggestion? Maybe you're already going to do this. Maybe with the
let's hear it.
tournament, when they're winning and stuff inside of your shop, you have it up on a board, and they make the wall, something to
Oh,
incentivize them to be like a permanent
A
thing
leaderboard.
inside of your shop.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, yeah, and I mean, my thing is who plays to lose, right? When you sit down and you play a game, like you both want to win, right? You can be friendly about it, you can be nice, you can still be kind, but you both want to win. So
Sure.
when you enter tournaments or you go play a competition or you load up to a game online, like anything, everyone's trying to win, right? So I just want it to I want the people that like really want to win to just come out and like show up, which I think they will, right? I think there's people out there that are kind of bored with more casual play and will come out for the competition and that are more competitive and stuff like that. Because when Magic was first around, it was all about the pros. I don't know if you remember, like during Magic's first decade or so, like there was like pro tours and like all the kids were like talking about who's pro and what they're playing, and it was almost like there was like celebrities in the game from these pros. And nowadays, I don't really hear about it. No one seems to care who's a pro, who's not. Best they can do is if you go pro, they end up hiring you on TCG Player to write articles for them, which is kind of sad and a waste of talent, in my opinion. You want these good players to be out there and like innovating in the game and displaying their skill and like their brain power. when it comes to all these different formats that come up.
Yeah, I mean, I know, especially when you're talking about Magic and for how long that game's been out and how many different decks are out there. That I mean, that is a lot to remember, compute, and strategize against infinite. It feels so infinite now, and that was kind of leading me to another kind of question about: do you find like One Piece, like you? That was a great explanation about how the mana usage like makes that like more quality of life playing. But do you find, because that game hasn't been out as long, it's a little easier to play right now or entry level for people?
Yeah, yeah, it's very beginner friendly. Um, there's pros and cons to everything, but I would say as far as how long they've been around, their card pool isn't as big as something like Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic. In Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't know if you knew this or not, but like every card is legal from the beginning of time unless it's banned. So last time I checked, it was like 14,000 cards that are in the available pool, and it's overwhelming. It's too much. And in Magic, Magic has different formats. So what hurts these games that have been around for longer, in my opinion, are for Magic, it has a bunch of different formats, which just kind of dilutes, everybody. It just kind of like spreads them out. So you got Commander, you got Sealed, you got Draft, you got Standard, and then I think there's like Extended or like a Legacy format too. Um, you can't really do them all. Most people are just playing card games like once or twice a week. And they focus in on one format. And then as far as Yu-Gi-Oh goes, is you can't really know the whole card pool as a new player, right? You can't come in and be expected to know thousands and thousands of possibilities. So what benefits One Piece right now is it's only been around for 4 years. They have a rolling window of what's in and what's out of rotation. Um, and I think that's going to keep the game healthy and easier to pick up. Whereas like, all these cards from 4 years ago can't even be played right now. So I don't need to worry about those. I just worry about what's currently in rotation. And then as the game progresses, older sets fall off, new sets come in. It keeps it very easy. I've always been a fan of like a rolling rotation where the newer sets come in, some of the older sets fall off, and usually that's just enough to change the meta. But even if you don't release a new set, but an old set goes out, like even that's enough to change the meta sometimes. So
Right.
it keeps it fun, and it's not as overwhelming as some of the other games.
Yeah. When you say that rotation, does it completely eliminate old releases, or does it just like will those still come back into that rotation for gameplay?
So they won't come back as of right now. This can change, but as of right now in One Piece, if a card rotates out, it won't come back. And then they're doing extended format where like all cards are available. But that's only so far. It's only been once this year. So it was like a
Right.
special tournament with a special card. It was once, which I think is good. It doesn't dilute. See, if they created like a whole extended format and then they made stores run two formats, that would dilute the player base. But the way they're doing it, which I think is smart, is they just have like special events where for that event it's the format where everything's allowed, and then you build around that. And the price card for it was a pretty good price card. It was a serialized price card for whoever won. And I think the card on eBay and stuff ended up going for like anywhere between $2,500 and $3,500 if you won this one time event. So people that really wanted it, really studied the game, really sat down and thought, what could other people bring in? They had to study for this format and earned themselves the winner card. So that was worth it to them. Those that put in the time likely did well and won one of these really expensive cards, even if it was just for one tournament. um they put in the time, and for them it was like, for me it was fun. It was fun to practice for that, and even if it was just one tournament, it didn't feel like a waste of time because you're playing for such a high value card.
Very cool. Yeah.
It is.
So you've already kind of alluded to all that. Right now, brand new kid walking into your store. I want to get into TCG. What do you sell me? What are we talking about?
Definitely depends on. I'd ask first, what do you collect first? You know, what do you like already? You know, are you if you're already a Pokemon fan, then easy. You know, it's easy to learn Pokemon. If you are, you know, already or someone in your family or someone in your friend group already plays another game, I'd probably tell you start that game because you have a community. You know, you've got somewhere where you can play. If it's just, you know, someone with no friends, no outside influence, no nothing else, I would say join our One Piece community. I would take them in, right? If they have nobody,
Right.
I take them in and I say, I'm gonna introduce you to the One Piece players. It's easy to pick up. It's a good game. Um, but yeah, you know, first try to tailor it to them. I did have one kid actually last night do exactly that.
Awesome.
He just discovered the store last week, and then he came in this week, and he's like, he had some Pokemon cards already, and he came in and he played with some of his friends, and then after his friends left, he said, "Hey, I wanna play, you know, like a TCG. My aunt plays Magic, my friends play Pokemon, but you're doing One Piece tomorrow." He's like, "What do you think I should play?" You know, that was his question, and I was like, "Well, you got community anywhere you go." So I asked him, I was like, "What, you know, has Pokemon been fun?" Which, you know, Pokemon's been fun. I said, "Play some Pokemon," and then he was like, "Well, my aunt's going to give me some decks," and I said, "Well, then, you know, dabble in that, and then pick whatever you know your favorite is." But then he saw that the One Piece players last night were here later than the other two groups. So after, you know, chatting with them for an extra hour at the end of the night, he was like, "Hey, I might join that pre-release tomorrow." So it really, you know, whatever he wants to play, I'm just happy that he's going to have. I think it's a good outlet for kids nowadays is to have like a nice, healthy way to display your competitive side. Um, because a lot of the times I feel like people try to talk down people's competitiveness, right? They're like, "Oh, you're too intense," or, you know, take yourself too seriously, or, you know, I think that's hurtful for everyone that has that fire in them to be competitive. So it's a good outlet for competitive kids or, you know, those that like to compete and, you know, do their best and put in time, put in work and see their results.
I like
Very
that.
cool.
That's really cool.
Very cool.
So I'm not familiar with TCG or the card games. I mean, I know about them, but it's been a mystery to me forever. But I used to play Hearthstone for Blizzard, you know, and I
Yeah.
play still sometimes Marvel Snap. Is that just a digital version of these games? Like if I went and sat down and played One Piece, is it a similar concept?
Yeah. So I played Hearthstone. I've never played Marble Snap, so I don't know what that's about. So I played Hearthstone and you get the little crystals, right? Every turn. You know, that's your mana
Yeah,
spend. So yeah.
almost like your mana.
So
Yeah.
right. So that's similar. And Hearthstone for a while there was like really popular. Um, the gameplay is fun for Hearthstone. The No one's denying that. I think Hearthstone is fun, and I think the gameplay is fun. The problem why it hasn't had, you know, the longevity, I think, is because it's missing collectability, and I think all games that are just online only are missing collectability. So Hearthstone, fun game. If it was an actual card game, I think it would have done well, and if people wanted to collect the cards, it would be, you know, starting from back then, I would think it would be a top trading card game right now. So yes, the gameplay is that for that is fun, and yes, there's similar gameplay in today's games. Um, but if they would have just had more money, it could have been even better. You know, who knows what else they could have done with it? Because there was another game that I thought was really fun. It was it's called I think it was called Legends of Runeterra, which was basically a League of Legends online game, and that had some of the best gameplay and mechanics I've ever seen. It was a really fun game, and I was addicted to it. But after 2 or 3 years, they axed it because it wasn't making enough money. Um, they could have made more money if they had, you know, physical cards, if it was a physical game, and people could have collected, you know, the Aries, the Garens, the Lux, you know, people like that stuff. So what's cool about trading card games is that it's a collection too. You know, you can collect the pretty cards. You can have the pretty cards. Yeah, and for some reason I've never been able to figure this out, but humans, they just have this like desire to just kind of have their like things, collect their things. Like I see a bunch of hats back there,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I got a binder full of cards, there's figurines, right? Even older people, they collected like baseball cards, they
Oh yeah.
collected, the grandmas with all the dolls, right? You know what I'm talking about? Like the little dolls or whatever as
Beanie
kids, the
Babies, baby.
Barbies, Beanie Babies. So
Yeah.
so so you don't need to understand it fully of why we want to like collect. You don't need to understand it, but what I think a lot of these online games only, like Hearthstone, should realize is that the desire to kind of collectability is already there. So definitely make it a physical game. Um, and that's what I think TCGs are doing right now. People want to collect Pokemon cards, and some of them play.
It
Um,
kind of goes back to
yeah,
digital versus physical on video games. Same, you got me thinking with the cards. You're so right. So, like on Marvel Snap, they try and sell you these variants of a card, and it's just really cool looking version, right? It's the same card that I have, but you got one that you played against me that's really cool looking. It's 3D or it's got holographic, but it's just on the digital. They're selling those for like $100 on the app just to have that. Now, it's cool looking and everything, but what happens when Marvel Snap goes out, goes away, right? If it was a
yeah,
physical card game, you would always have that and you could always play it with your friends and it's gonna, always be there. That's interesting. I think if Marvel Snap was a physical card game, I think that would be the one I would jump into. But maybe Magic, the Marvel version is something. I don't know. How are those cards?
yeah. Those are pretty fun. There's one guy that he's really into Marvel, the comics, and he came in and he bought his first ever TCG product. It was the Marvel, Magic, or because he liked the cards, he liked the artwork. But going to what is it, Marble Snap that you play? Is that what it is? Or, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Snap.
going back to that $100 card they're selling digitally, I bet you if it was a TCG, it would be thousands of dollars for that card because it happens like there's even you say you were talking about like the game ending and then like your card going away. Yeah, but another viewpoint to that too is like even now, let's say Marvel Snap never went away. How much value are you really getting from that one card? Just having it on your account on your phone. Not much compared to a physical copy that you could just display or just have up on your wall or in your glass display case or in your binder or you know
Yeah, those guys are going around with their phone. You got to see this card, man.
Yeah.
Let me log in real quick.
yeah yeah
This is going to
it's
blow your
kind of
mind.
weird. It's kind of weird. It's a more natural way to do that is just display it and then someone will ask you about it and then you can
Yeah.
talk all you want about it, because they asked you about
And
it. It's
even
kind
if
of weird.
I'm not a
Just
TCG player, I would love to look at those cards because the
yeah,
artwork and everything in it, I think.
yeah,
Mm. There's
yeah.
just
So
there's just something super, I think, primal about collecting things like that. I like to say I was kind of lucky enough. My old man was a collector of baseball and sports cards, right? So, I should just say sports cards instead of baseball cards, but everybody knows it as that. To the point of like his office was like stacked full of boxes and boxes and boxes, and at one point, almost opened his own card shop here in Vegas, which was big business, especially, early to mid 90s. That's like Pogs, we went to going to all the card shows in the malls and everything. I know they're still around, but I think they're fewer and far between. But that's kind of those other things that got me into wanting to play these types of TCG games. It was like, oh, sports cards, yes, but as more of a kid that was like collecting stuff, it was the cool artwork on these other different cards and like where that come from. I would be interested to know, like, maybe you do know this, Eddie, is like, what is the first TCG game?
I think it's Magic. like in
What was it
1993 or something like
legit
that. Yeah.
the first one? Okay, because that's kind of like what I always remember, but I didn't know if there was like some niche like predecessor to that or like something that somebody came out and was like very very. They might be, but I don't know of it.
Yeah, I would say maybe. Maybe there was something else that, didn't, wasn't as popular, maybe just got regionally popular. I don't know, right? If anything though, I think the recognized first, the generally recognized first TCG would be
Right.
Magic. That's the one that
Right.
like really did what TCGs were supposed to do, right? That's the one
Right.
that kind of set the trend for all of the other ones that came after that. So even if there was like a kind of indie card game before then or whatever, I still wouldn't say that that was like the first one of its kind, right? It was
Yeah.
definitely Magic that's the first one of its kind.
Yeah. Okay. So keep going. What's your? I know we're like I'm always going to come back to Magic. I'm not familiar with the other ones, but I'm curious. Like, what's your favorite game mode? Like you already said about Magic having all the different ones. Like, what's your favorite one? Like, which one should I go play if I'm not already playing that?
If you're not already playing Magic,
Or yeah, like or just within Magic if I'm just playing standard mode. Like, whichever what other game modes within that do you like to play or is your favorite?
gotcha. So the two I would play um, to start off with is probably Commander and Draft, or even Sealed. Draft and Sealed are similar. Draft is just 3 boosters. That's your deck basically, and then you play.
Mm-hmm.
Sealed is 6 boosters, but you cut it down, so it's more like more constructed, but still within the 6. And then Commander is pre-constructed or constructed decks, like off the shelf that are ready to play decks. And the reason why I recommend these is because to start with Commander, you just spend 50, 60, 70, $80, and then you got a whole deck. It's functional and you can play it. Like it's ready to go. You're gonna have some fun. You go in, you buy a Commander deck, you sit down, you sleeve it, you play it. You will have fun. Um, provided the people you're playing with are cool people. Um, for people that are wanting to jump in for the first time, um, Draft is pretty good just because it puts everyone down on an even playing field,
Mm-hmm.
right? You get 3 boosters and then you just play with what you have. So you're not losing to these overpowered combos. You're not losing to, like $1,000 card that someone put in their deck or whatever. It tones the game down a little bit to its core basics, its gameplay basics. So it gives you more of a chance to learn the mechanics. So I think that would be a good game to learn is doing Draft and then doing Commander. Um, and just joining a pre-release because they're meant to be. They're super sweaty because the prizes are pretty good, but they're meant to be beginner friendly, like a time for people to come in, get their hands
Get
on the
into it.
cards and learn. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
The so do you find like the Commander is like kind of the competitive route then currently?
Uh, no, I would say not really. The standard would be the the
It's still
competitive route.
standard.
Yeah,
It's still standard,
yeah,
yeah. Okay.
yeah. You can, but there's
Mild pay to win. Well, maybe not mild. It's probably major pay to win with standard.
yeah, and it's a time sink too. You really got to get into it because a lot of people have been playing for years.
Yeah.
It's just it's something that the TCGs that have been around for a while, other than Pokemon's very beginner friendly and very competitively cheap. Like you can build a top deck for $50 probably in Pokemon, and you just be like the most optimized meta relevant deck. Um, it's the cheapest game to get into and be competitive and good at it. But as far as Magic goes, um, it's going to be a slow start if you're like a super competitive person because you're gonna learn the mechanics. You're gonna have to acquire the cards. You're gonna have to spend the money. You'll decide, assuming standard, right? And then you're gonna try to be keeping up and it's not the first TCG I would recommend for someone to get into as their first TCG, right? If you're looking to play your first
Unless you're
TCG,
Josh.
I was just
Unless you're
gonna say,
JMac.
is it like
Yeah.
I have a 0 to a million
Yeah.
personality, so just send it
Yep.
deep end sharks and all
Yeah.
sharks with laser beams on
Yeah.
their head. I'm in, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, no, but remember my first question if someone came in, right? What do your friends play?
Yeah.
So this is after that. So after that, I would say after asking, what do your friends play? What do you have support in? What do you dabble in? What do you like already? Then let's say, all equal, right? Your friends play nothing, you collectability, you have no preference, all equal. I would probably send you to one of the newer TCGs.
Yeah.
And if you're younger, Pokemon, because it is a simpler game. So cheap, easy to play, simple game. Very beginner friendly. In fact, so beginner friendly, within a few days, if you're really smart, you might start getting bored. With just seeing the decks
Pokemon,
and trying to plan. Yeah, Pokemon.
Yeah.
So that's how beginner friendly it is. But again,
Oh.
if you got support in Magic and that's what you're going to play, and do it, because I mean you'll still have fun. It's just it would be harder than some of the other TCGs. All things equal.
Do you find that like cerebral fall off, call it, with One Piece, or is One Piece sustaining nice to get in early and like you can like it's going to continue where it will be more competitive and more of the thinker's game, say if that Pokemon's at the bottom of that thinker's game, or that's checkers and Magic is chess, like where does One Piece fall into that?
So I think it's really balanced. So I'd put it somewhere in the middle.
Perfect.
Right. Yeah, it's really balanced because once you learn the basics, you can do really well just by playing what your deck wants to do, So you just do what your deck wants to do and do well. I would say to start off, well, I'll just tell you my experience because I only started playing One Piece in November. So I haven't even been in it for a year.
Almost, but yeah.
Yeah. So I started playing in November, and it took me, I went to 3 tournaments of 4 rounds before I even got my first game win. So I was just getting beat up,
Yeah.
And my first game win was against like a little 12-year-old girl. And after
Sent her
the
home
game,
crying.
no, she was there with her dad. So after the game, she stood up. She's like, okay, I'm going to go play this other thing now, and left her cards there. So I go to her dad and I'm like, dude, I'm really sorry. Like, I just, I had to beat your little girl. I was in a lose-lose, lose to a little girl or win. And I was like, this was my first win. I'm new too. And he's like, oh, don't even worry about it. Like, she just wanted to come with me today. So I just gave her that deck. Like, she doesn't know how to play. So I didn't even realize that I was playing against someone that didn't really know how to play. And that had to be my first
She
win.
almost won.
Yeah, I wouldn't say she almost won, but she did make it easy for something I was learning. Yeah. So from there, but then, so then the following tournament, I ended up taking second place. So I went from like the first 3, once I learned like the mechanics, the core, how it works, what your deck wants to do. Once I learned that, then I started doing well. So I got second place, and then the tournament after that, I won. So I won like my first tournament. And these were against guys that have been playing for years. So, and then since then, you just consistently, I've been consistently in the top like 4 spots usually.
Yeah.
Every now and then I'll fall below that. So it was once you get the core gameplay, and everybody knows what they're doing, then the matches are very fun and back and forth.
Yeah.
And then the tier above that, I would say, is like the real optimizers, which are the guys that are just looking to win big tournaments.
Right.
Those are the ones that are like actually thinking like 2-3 turns ahead and have played matchups so many times that they just kind of know what routes to take and stuff like that. So most people just stay kind of in that middle ground, right? Like everybody wants to win, but not everyone's going to sink 6 hours a night into the game to be that much better, Of
course.
So it's a good middle ground, I would say, as far as, the thinking game. It's right in there.
And Jake, before you start, like everybody's experience is gonna vary. Like my guy over here winning tournaments within a year, it's TCG experience that took over. He just had to learn how that
Yeah.
game played. Like
Right.
so, even for you viewers out there that are like that, like I know I gotta say though, this is pretty awesome because I didn't expect this to come on here and really feel kind of sold to try to want to try a different TCG game. Like again, my wife is a huge fan of One Piece. She has caught up on the anime. We love the live action and everything like that. And it was like that would be such a cool game for us to pull aside and just like mess around with. So you kind of get me to think a little bit about trying something outside of that because Magic is like it is a pretty big undertaking and like learning it is kind of slow and it is definitely the even at the entry level, it feels like you're trying to learn chess right away. And then so if this is the middle game, where you can kind of learn checkers a little bit along the way and then play chess eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be my recommendation to you is try One Piece. It's really fun. So another thing with One Piece is I wasn't even gonna play One Piece, so I wanted to play Pokemon. I went to a store and it wasn't Pokemon night, even though I thought it was. And they had One Piece, and I had already heard about the game, but I was like, whatever, because I'd never watched the anime. That's the other thing. I got into the game and started playing it competitively without even being a fan of the anime. Never seen it. Didn't care about who Monkey D. Luffy was. Didn't care about anything. But I just enjoyed, as someone that's been playing TCG since the late '90s, I just enjoyed the gameplay so much. I thought it was fun. I thought it was innovative. I thought it was competitive. It was challenging. It was just everything that I like in games. So I was the guy that's like, yeah, I've never seen the anime. I think the game is fun, and I got made fun of enough times being that guy, the guy that because I'd play out cards and didn't know what the name was, because they're all character names. So I'd play out cards, and I know what the card does, I know how the game plays, but I didn't know who this character was or what they did. So
The backstory.
yeah,
I
and
don't
people,
know the stinking lore. I'm beating you up. That's
yeah,
all I care about.
that's exactly right. Yeah, and the deck I started with was very aggro. It was very much just hit you in the face as many times as I can. And people would make jokes. Like, oh, that's very lore accurate. Something would happen in game. I'm like, I don't know what that means. But I guess this.
What
I
does
beat them
that
down with
mean?
this. Yeah, I beat them down with a certain character, and they're like, that's very lore accurate. It's like I don't know. So eventually, work slowed down, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna try One Piece. And then in 2 months, I watched the whole thing, 1,056 episodes or something like that. Like, I don't know. Within 2 months, yeah, I was watching like 5-6 hours of One Piece, but it got me in though. So I played the game first. I got made fun of enough to be embarrassed that I didn't know what I was talking about, as far as characters and stuff. And then I started watching the anime, and I thought it was a very good anime, and I finished it because I was hooked.
Yeah.
So it's a good IP. Now I can say it's a good IP. It's a great story. And then also, in my opinion, it's probably the best mechanically sound TCG out there right now.
That's awesome.
With Riftbound being like a close second, in my opinion.
Yeah. I can keep going, Jake, unless you have more questions. I don't mean to like cut off the host here, but this is
maybe
like,
I have sort of a stupid question, and then I'll let you go with yours.
I am deep in this conversation right now. Okay, go ahead.
I think we're going to have a part 2 also. I think we're almost out of time, but we're going to have a part 2 for sure. So when I sit down and I want to play a video game, I get online, whatever, right? Throw on my headset. I set up my chair. I sit about 2 feet from my giant TV. I usually crack open a big old tall boy of beer or something. Like that's what I do to get ready to game. What do you guys do when you play TCGs? Like, are you playing music? I know some people rock out to like some music in the background. They eat, they do, or some people are like laser focused on the game. So like, what do you
Right.
guys do?
Okay. So at the store, or what do you mean? Because everyone will have their preference.
either
Okay.
and.
So what I do in the store is I have some background music. It's just, some like generic, it's music that you're not going to know. You walk into a retail store and they have it too loud. But usually, if it wasn't too loud, you wouldn't even notice it. You wouldn't even think about it. So I try to have that in the background, just because I feel like it's nice. Um, and then when people are in here and they're newer, I feel like they don't feel as comfortable if it's just like dead silent and there's not a lot of people around. So they don't want to talk much or they don't want to talk too loud. So the reason why I have some music going is so that it's a good atmosphere where they can just like relax and then just talk, say your thing, feel at ease, making noise. Basically, you're not disturbing the silence. Um, and and then usually you don't even think about it. So like we played last night, we had some music going. The Pokemon group was being, super loud, and it wasn't even Pokemon night. These kids just come and play Pokemon, and we had an extra table for it. We are playing Riftbound, and then it just once people are playing, they zone in, and you don't even think about it anymore. You're not. The point is, don't be worried about what's going on. Just sit down, spend one-on-one time with your opponent, have that human interaction, compete, try to win, be in your own thoughts, think about what the best play is to do, and then, have fun.
I like it.
Awesome.
Josh, you get with a group of people and play, don't you? So like what is that someone's house or?
Yeah, that's not something I set up. Just something another buddy does, and then I've gone and checked that out once or twice. Nothing crazy. So something I want to do more often. I don't really get to do that per se. Like I said, usually I'm just like on Steam playing the arena, or with the decks we have with my kiddo, just every now and then. But I mean, as time permits, I'd like to go, do the at least the social stuff at my buddy's house and do, the kind of different draft nights and stuff that he's doing right now. Cause, it does really kind of level the playing field. He does a lot of team stuff, like 2-player team draft night things and stuff like that. So, very interested in making me want to play a little more, to be honest, this whole conversation there. I know we're running out of time, so I'll table these other 35 questions I have, and we'll just ask the one really prudent to the channel here. What video games are you currently playing?
So I moved and I haven't set up my PC yet. So this is the video games I've been playing since before I set up my PC. I played like a day or two of Pokopia because it's a Pokemon game, and I was like, this is pretty cool. And I actually enjoyed Animal Crossing. So like me and my wife sunk in hundreds of hours in Animal Crossing. So Pokopia, I fired that up, but then I started moving, so I stopped. Before that, I was playing Pokemon ZA. You remember that one? I think it came out last year, like in the summer or just in the. No, it was in the fall, I think, or winter.
Yeah, my daughter's still playing that one.
Okay, it's fun.
She plays it a lot.
Yeah, I've always been a Pokemon fan. Since the yellow, blue, red. I've played them all. Every single time they come out, I get the new console and I play it because
my wife is now stuck on the Pokemon game right now on the Switch. She's got it for the Switch, and it's like, come home,
Pokopia.
Yeah, just come home on the couch, turn that on. Don't talk to me for 2 hours. I was like, you got it. Like, awesome.
And that's only on Switch 2 though, right? You can't get on Switch.
Yeah. But she's got, I don't know, probably embarrassing amount of time into Animal Crossing, like you said. So she just fell right into that one. So, but yeah, sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So, and then as far as PC gaming though goes, that's usually where I play my first persons. So like, I'll fire up Apex Legends, or I'll play like the Final Fantasy remakes. I don't know if you guys played that.
No, not
because I think we're all older. Did you ever play Final Fantasy 7 as a kid?
Yes, for sure.
Briefly, everybody has at least touched it, right? Yeah.
Okay, so the remakes, I think the remakes are just really good. They did a good job adding to the story, or like kind of in a way it changes the story, but like I think for the better, because when you were a kid and you're playing, it was kind of confusing. One, I was young, and two, that's just how old games were. They couldn't add too much context because you just couldn't. It was restricted. So now the storytelling is a lot better. So if you ever get a chance to play Final Fantasy VII Remake, I highly recommend it. It's really fun. Uh, it's an emotional game. So I played that, and really just to, from there, just kind of a lot of the free to play games. Like I dabbled in Fortnite, I dabbled in some of these other the MOBAs, League of Legends, that sort of stuff. So I like
Cool.
I like competition. It's fun to me, and my wife gets mad at me at this, but she's like, "You get really into your games," um, and it's kind of annoying to her. But like that is fun to me. She's like, "You're not even relaxed. You're like your blood pressure must be through the roof. You're like mashing your keyboard. Like, how is that even fun?" And to me, it's like the competition. Like even if I lose, it's the thrill, man. I just love if someone I have the most fun, even if I lose, I have the most fun when I have a challenge in front of me, a difficult challenge, and especially like a cunning one. Like if you tricked me and you beat me with a little trick, I just go GG's. Like that was pretty cool. Like I enjoy the sport more than the winning or losing. I enjoy the craftiness of competition.
Sounds like a BR player in Apex for sure. Getting bamboozled and
Yeah,
being like,
yeah,
all right.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
that's that 12-year-old girl getting you back on Apex right there. That's what that is.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's coming back at
Yeah.
you.
There's been times I've been bamboozled.
Yeah.
There's been times someone's gone around a corner and then peeked to the same corner when I thought they were going to go a different corner, and I'm like, you got me. Like, it's just fun. We're
Yeah,
all
in
just kind
Apex,
of
that's
trying.
definitely a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes
just
you're the
trying.
bamboozler.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
up until the point of cheating is where I'd say if you are crafty, up until that line where you're not cheating, don't cheat, right? But if you're crafty up to that point, that's good. That's all well for me. If you like back in the olden days of Apex where you could bunny hop, some
Hmm.
people were like, "Oh, it's
Hmm.
unfair, it's cheating," stuff like that. I don't really see that as cheating. They just put in the time to learn it, and it's something the mechanics of the game allowed, and they used it to their advantage, and it made it harder to
Might be sweaty, but it's not
down
cheating.
them.
Yeah, it's
Exactly. So
Right.
exploits versus cheating.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a
So
difference. Yep.
yeah, in my opinion, exploits have always been fair game. Um, and if the game devs disagree, then they can patch it. Like if it's that bad.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, but if you're in a competition, you know, and there's like the exploit that like the bunny hop, go for it, man. It's
Yeah.
allowed. Everyone can use it. Everyone can do it. It's just part of the game, in my opinion.
Right on.
So that's the
Hey, so Eddie,
competition I like.
before we head out, is there anywhere that people that watch this might want to like follow you or look up your store, or do you have anything?
Yeah. So right now, so the store's new. We've been open. It was a soft open for the first 2 months, and then we had a grand opening 2 weeks ago. So, and
It's
I
called
unstable table
The
in Brookings,
Unstable
Oregon.
Table,
Yeah, and
Brookings,
if
Oregon.
you, yeah. So my, so I'm a contractor during the day, and then in the evenings
Like
I
a
come and
hitman?
open. No, no, like building decks, doing
Okay.
roofs, painting, that sort of stuff, right? So I do construction during the day, come home, shower, open up my game store in the evening. So it's going to be a slow start just because it's not something that is sustainable full time right now. So the reason why I'm saying this is I've been very busy and I haven't set up any of my socials. I have a website just to claim the website, but it's crap if you go to unstable table, tcg.com. It's just like an image and then a link that says join our Discord with our address. Like that's it.
That's
And
good
the
enough
reason,
start.
yeah. And eventually we'll get there. Sure, I'll start selling things online down the road, and I'll post a calendar there and make it good. But my focus for now has been filling the need of competitive TCG here. Because so back to starting to play One Piece. Well, even back before then, I used to go to weekly tournaments when I lived in a big city, And stores, this store has a tournament on Tuesday. This store has a tournament on Thursday. This one has it on Saturday. I would go to all three, you know. So I grew up kind of going to the stores and playing competitive games. When I moved here 5 years ago, that all disappeared. The closest store to us that would do competitive games was 2.5 hours away. So then I got into One Piece, and I liked it so much that I said, I need a place to play. So I started driving 2.5 hours for tournaments. This was through the winter. So in like January and February and March, I was driving 2.5 hours. And I just said, I can't, that's not sustainable. I can't do that. I live too far. So we found a place that is, big enough to have tables. And my wife says I opened a game store just for me so I can play. And
Yep.
in a way, that's true. That was part of it. The need. I mean, the desire's always been there to have a store and play in person with the stores because that's what I grew up doing, and I had a lot of fun doing it. But so it's a desire I've always had. I just had the excuse to do it now. I have nowhere to go play. So I made the place for people to come play. I opened up the tables and try
I
and
think
teach
that's what'll
people
make you
TCGs and
successful
stuff.
too, is you're doing it out of the what's the word I'm looking for? The
Passion, love.
passion. Yeah.
Yeah.
The love of the game.
Yeah.
So instead of the want of money. So I think it'll work out for you. So
Yeah, thanks, man.
if you're watching this, go to the unstabletable.com, or is it unstable table TCG?
TCG. Yeah, unstabletabletcg.com. There's nothing for
And
you
at
there
least go
except the
there just
Discord
so you
link.
Yeah.
Hey,
But go
join
there so you can join
the Discord, get in the
Yeah.
Discord, chat around. Eddie will be in there. He's,
Yeah.
we'll plug it for him. We
Yeah.
got you, bro. Like the website's in work in progress. Give the
Yep.
man, this is the man's passion project, not his main job. Help him out
Yeah.
there. Get in that Discord, make it grow with that community if you're into TCG.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'll have the link below in the YouTube video.
Thanks. In a year, we'll be further along.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
Well,
in a year,
we'll check back
along.
with you. We'll have you on again because we got to have a part 2, I think. And we just want to have you back on anyway. So
yeah, and hopefully you've both experienced more TCGs by then in stores. Yeah.
I'll swing by the store and I'll look at some stuff. We'll talk.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Good.
Thanks for joining us. Late.